What's up, everybody? I'm Alex.
And I'm Muhammad of Secondhand Scoops, and welcome to the Vintage DAO podcast.
It's long overdue, man. Long overdue, but I'm excited to be here. I just wanted to give you guys a little background on who I am. Let Muhammad tell you a little bit about who he is, just so you know who's talking to you guys in these videos. So, like I said, I'm Alex Comfortis. My Instagram page is My Thrift Deal. I started it about 3 years ago, and honestly, I started it because I needed a way to make money, and I loved clothing. To me, these clothing pieces are kind of like art in a way, vintage art. Some of these tees being 30 years old, pretty much as old as I am, more or less. Like, it's amazing to see the condition of them. If you're a treasure hunter of any sort, going to the thrifts and trying to unearth that one piece, it's super special. So I resonated hard with vintage, and I've been in crypto for about 5 years as well. Started buying in 2017, ridden a lot of highs, ridden a lot of lows. And it's been quite the journey, but I'm excited now because this is the moment where everything is starting to come together in a lot of different ways. And there's so many real world applications of crypto right now, from DeFi to NFTs to music and so much more. So that's really exciting to me. I'll let Muhammad tell you a little bit about himself, and then I'll talk to you guys a little bit about why Vintage DAO.
Oh, so super duper excited to be here with y'all. My name is, like I said before, Muhammad Kairisman. My Instagram page is Secondhand Scoops, and I've been running Secondhand Scoops, the vintage resale page, store, platform. I don't even know what it is anymore, for about like 5 years or so. I got into vintage similarly like Alex because I needed to make money. I knew I didn't want to work for anybody anymore, and I just had to figure out how to get my time back. And the only way to get my time was, crazy enough, to put in more time
What a
into getting
concept.
my time back. And so I'm grateful for Vintage. It's been able to help me move out of state, out of my home city. It's been able to help sustain my not only my creative endeavors, but also just like my life endeavors. And crypto for me, at its first and foremost in community with Vintage DAO, started because I wanted to gain literacy. I knew this is coming. I knew it's already here, and I knew crypto is only going to develop further. And I just wanted to understand a little bit. I wanted to know how it works, like why it works. I needed to see just how to speak and live and breathe and understand and have some level of, you know,
Little level of
mastery in this
understanding.
space. Just a level of understanding at its core. So gaining literacy in crypto, and honestly, hopefully utilizing this technology to expand not just the vintage community's reach, but also just my reach as an artist and the network of artists and community of artists that I am part of as well. So I'm super
Absolutely.
duper excited to be here, and I'm super excited to learn.
All right, so you guys are probably wondering, what the heck is a DAO? And I mean, I don't expect you to know. It's barely new in the last year or so. DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Decentralized because it's not controlled by any one entity. It's on the blockchain, it's on the entire ledger network. So it's fully transparent. Autonomous, same thing. Anybody can see into it, the transparency and the organization of it. It's kind of like an LLC, but again, on the blockchain, everybody can vote using whatever representation they have in the DAO, whether it's an NFT or a token. It makes it really easy to call to action different things in the DAO versus an LLC where you would have to, have a real in-person meeting usually, and there's a lot more logistics behind it. Crypto and DAOs make that a thing of the past. And that's really, like I said, I've been involved in crypto since 2017. It's been crazy. I think it's already 5 years since I started buying it.
Woo,
Back when Bitcoin
insane.
was 1,000, I wish I didn't gamble it all on sports at the time. I would have been a lot more successful. But here we are today. I've seen the growth in both of these communities in the last couple of years, in vintage and in crypto. And a lot of people don't know it, but they share so much of the same ethos. They're both heavy in the arts. They're heavy in community collaboration, working with other people around you, finding things that aren't that common. And I just started to notice a lot of these parallels. And I wanted to think about this year for myself personally. How can I help people grow themselves? How can I expand education as it relates to crypto and in vintage? And really, that led me to wanting to start Vintage DAO. Originally, I was going to do an educational group for people, but with the advancement of the DAOs in the last 6 to 12 months, it just made more sense to do it as a DAO. So, what do you
Yeah.
get when you join the Vintage DAO? You're joining a resource in a community with a ton of different like-minded people that are working towards similar and shared goals. For myself, you can see I have a lot of clothes in here, and it's been a one-man army. I don't have a team around me. I don't have a feedback loop. I don't have that support system that some stores might have, or pages that are shared by a couple people. So as an individual, it's been a long journey to figure out my own path and learn everything I've needed to do. And it shouldn't be that way. And it doesn't have to be that way. So within the Vintage DAO, again, at its core at the start, it's a place for collaboration with other creators and other like-minded individuals. Let's say, for example, you wanted to put on an event. As an individual, that's a lot of responsibility, a lot of liability, both financially and legally. So just the ability to spread that out between other people is really cool, and use even a shared treasury of sorts that's shared by different members in the community. And so, Mohammed, I'm gonna pass it back to you right here. I've been talking for a little too long. I think I might have
No,
lost a few people.
man. Hey, you gotta. We have to hear it from the source. You know what I mean? Like you initiated all this. I'm grateful to be in this space with you. I'm grateful to be able to start this podcast with you, and I'm just grateful to be here. And it's incredible to hear and keep on hearing why this began, how it started, and like just what we can use the Vintage DAO for, just as a concept, and not just our own individual endeavors, but as a group endeavor. Um, yeah, man. Honestly, I just want to say that my interest in crypto, like I did my research, but I had like hesitations. You know, I didn't necessarily know how to even try to navigate, let alone actually navigate. It just felt like it was a whole different language. It felt like it was a whole different world. Like I don't come from that. I come from tangibles. You know, I come from actual physical pop ups. I come from creating the pants with the sewing machine. It was very difficult for me to wrap my head around crypto. But Alex, genuinely, before Vintage DAO, you know what I mean, before joining, before getting the Vintage Punk, like dedicated time to just sit down with me and explain and share the knowledge that he knew. And more than anything, that was why I'm here. Like it's really, 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 really difficult to learn anything, let alone something new, let alone something that doesn't necessarily have a clear blueprint yet or a clear precedent. And to be able to have a understanding of this topic matter to the point where he can share it with someone like myself who has only been in crypto for a few months,
It's crazy.
in a way where I can understand it and share it at the very least directly with another person from what has been told to me. You know what I'm saying? Like to be able to uh, know that I know, or I at very least I know as much as Alex has taught me. Is beautiful. Like at its core, both me and Alex, as we start having conversations about crypto, we found out that we both have this foundational desire to educate. We have this educational component in everything that we do, and it's incredible to see not just where the vintage and crypto connects, but where me and Alex connect, and our parallels. And I'm just super duper excited to see what this brings about. I hope that people come out of here feeling empowered and excited, and at the very least, even if they don't want to participate, have an understanding to be in community with people that are within this space. You know.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mohammed. That was well said. That's why you're here. You're a poet. You're an educator. You're an amazing individual. But beyond that, just so talented. And I'm happy to have you a part of the Vintage DAO team. I'm happy to talk about the roadmap that we've outlined. You can check it out on our website in a little bit more detail, www.vintagedao.com. But pretty much right now, we are selling the NFT series, the Vintage Punk NFTs. It's 15 t-shirts. One of them is based off of this shirt, but 15 shirts that are pretty important to the vintage community. Actually, 14 shirts and one from the crypto community. That's a really, really cool shirt with the Ethereum logo. Shout out to Bankless for that shirt. But yeah, 15 t-shirts, 4 backgrounds, 5 skin tones, creates 300 unique punks. They're all one of ones. They're all the same level of rarity. And in order to join Vintage DAO, you're going to need to purchase a Vintage Punk. And what that's going to do is essentially get you access into all of these different areas within the DAO, access to certain discounts and promotions with vendors that are only available to Vintage DAO members, more resources available within the DAO, different channels in our Discord, certain things like in search of, trade pits, blacklists, so people to stay away from in auctions and bad transaction histories and whatnot. It's pretty cool. A lot of the organization happens in the Discord. Honestly, all of the organization happens in the Discord. So that's a great place to start if you're looking to learn more. And some of the things we have planned for this year, this summer, we have some pretty cool events happening and even further along down this year. Over summer, we're going to host an in-person event here in beautiful sunny Seattle for that 3-month window. And we'll have vendors both within the Vintage DAO and from outside the Vintage DAO showcasing some of their pieces. We'll have local musicians as well as musicians from throughout the US that are coming there, and great food local to Seattle as well. So that will be happening over summer. And then down the road at the end of this year, we plan to open up a retail location. And that retail location will provide members in the DAO a physical place where they can sell their clothing. That access is only going to be granted to people in the Vintage DAO. And this is really cool. I mean, I think this is revolutionary. I've never seen anything, and especially in vintage, where there's a communal source and a communal hub for people that can literally just like send their clothing to and get sold pretty much. So that's one of the many reasons why you would want to be in the DAO. We'll have a retail presence in the next 12 months where clothing is sold for members of the DAO. We're going to be throwing events over summer. Everybody that buys a punk in this first run is going to get the t-shirt sent to them. And there's a lot more things. Now, we've toyed with the idea of an NFT museum, both maybe in VR and in person. I've talked about making an album with members in the Vintage DAO. Not too much about that, but there's a lot of really talented people in the vintage community that do so much more than selling clothes. And Vintage DAO is supposed to be a way for them to get more of a foothold into crypto and learn about how it can be of use to them, both as an individual and as a collective. But with that, I think that's a pretty good intro to what's going on here. We're going to have a lot of educational episodes coming up. What is crypto? Why crypto? Popular apps, kind of like the how crypto. Get way more into detail about DeFi, which is a decentralized finance, and of course, NFTs. But thank you guys. This was awesome. This is the first official episode of the Vintage DAO podcast. Shout out to Mohammed. If you don't
Hey, shout
follow
out
him
to
on
Alex.
Instagram, go to Secondhand Scoops, follow Mohammed, My Thrift Deal for myself, and of course, at Vintage DAO on all social channels. Peace.
Take it easy, y'all.